Hey guys, in this video I'm going to go over a book named Build to Sell that was written by, I believe the author's name is pronounced John Warrillow. I think, might be wrong, let me know in the comments, but this is the #1 book you should read if you're thinking of starting or if you are scaling your agency in 2022. It's a book that I read a long time ago. It's fundamentally changed the way I run my agency and we're doing okay. We do about 80K a month and scaling there consistently. So I feel like we're an expert in this space. Now, whether you are running an agency or, to be honest, any service-based business, which is the #1 business you should start if you're trying to make money online passively, because very, very low costs, high margin. I'm not going to get into it. I have tons of other videos on my channel. If you're not subscribed, you can do so now. But I'm going to go through my actual book notes. So what you're looking at here is Evernote. It's what I use for my note taking. It doesn't really matter what you take, but these are the actual notes that I've taken and I share them with some of my one-to-ones in Systems and Profit. But I'm going to go through them today, break down some of the sections. I've gone ahead and highlighted everything in blue that I want to talk about specifically for this video. But let's get going. So first of all, Build to Sell. Why do I recommend it as the #1 book to start? Well, first of all, I know a lot of you might aspire to be readers because reading books has become somewhat of a cool thing to do these days. But at the end of the day, it's a book. And so if I give you a thick textbook, you're probably not going to actually read it. You're going to get bored. And so Build to Sell, I think the author did a really good job because it's basically written as a story where he learns lessons along the way. So the main character, I don't even know what his name is, but basically it starts out with him already running an agency that already has a team and a couple clients, but he absolutely hates his life. It goes through basically how he had all these clients and he hated working on their accounts, they treated him badly, and he was actually making no money. I made another video why most agencies don't make any money, which is like the biggest lie in the industry. Everyone's posting big revenue numbers, but they actually take no profit. Anyways, that was him. And through the book, he basically meets this mentor who helps him one-on-one, which is exactly why I do what I do with Systems and Profit. And you can book a call with me and see if I'll work with you one-on-one. But anyways, he basically meets this mentor who holds his hand throughout the journey. And at the end of the journey, he sells his business for a massive amount, which I'm sure we'll get to in a little bit. So in fact, actually, let's just start, right? So how I take my notes, that's not what this video is about, but basically every chapter has got a heading, so like a company in chaos, a worthless business, and then I basically bullet point from there, and then I kind of indent my notes as I go. I usually don't highlight everything in blue like you're seeing here, but that's just for this video, but I do kind of make sure to highlight what I think is important. So yeah, if we just start, you can see he starts out with a company in chaos, right? And I honestly believe that like if you're running an agency, you probably have a company in chaos, right? That's why you're watching this, that's why you're trying to learn, because most agencies, I'd say like 99% of them are completely in chaos, right? So you see it says, don't put yourself in a position to be pushed around by a client because they represent too much of your total revenue. I speak to so many agency owners every day and almost all of them have this like one client that like is 80% of their revenue. And so they hate the client, they hate the work, but they literally cannot stop. They have to keep doing what the client says. Terrible position to be in. It's actually the same reason why we used to have a 3.5 to 4K starting retainer for our clients. And a couple months ago, we made the decision, instead of charging that, we're going to charge 2K per client plus percentage. And the reason we did that is because if all of our clients pay us the same base, then every time a client leaves, it doesn't knock the revenue numbers that much. Like every client is a smaller and smaller percentage versus having some clients on like 8K retainers and others on like 2K. Now, of course, there is a performance fee, but I don't classify, and I might be different here, but I don't classify performance as like MRR because it's not monthly recurring. You know, it changes depending on month to month, performance, etc. So I'm not looking at the total revenue the client pays us. I'm just looking at what I can guarantee they will pay us monthly if everything just goes to shit, right? So that's the first lesson in the book, okay? Then he ran his cars and dinner expenses through the company and paid himself big bonuses. He had a mediocre staff, none of them really knew what they were doing. Again, just haven't even gone through it, but a couple lessons there. Almost every agency I know of that is looking at these types of videos and trying to scale, they have a team that they don't actually like because they started off with a team that wasn't very competent. And not only that, but they have no idea what they're doing from an accounting, cash flow, business strategy side of things. And so again, just complete company in chaos. So if that sounds like you, I really, really think you should keep watching because we're going to go through how you can go from that to, I'm going to skip all the way to the end. The finish line. basically he originally dreamed of 5 million, so he accepted it. Okay, so basically from 6 to 5.2. So he sold his business for $5.2 million, and that's an agency. So you can see a company in chaos to I think this happened over the course of a year, selling it in 5.2 million. So again, like I'm just going to go through my notes. I'm going to summarize it very well. And if it resonates with you, go pick up the book. Highly recommend it. Or if it's a good fit, book a call with me. Anyways, so a worthless business, mediocre team, clients relying on him, lots of competition. 99% of agencies, same story. One guy knows what he's doing, and then a bunch of assistants who have no idea what's happening. Not only that, but they have so much competition because they fail to make their service anything different. Every single agency I speak to does Facebook ads for e-com businesses. Like, do you know how much absolute competition you have? There are way bluer oceans than that you can scale way quicker. And majority of us just want to make revenue, not run ads for e-com businesses. So if your goal is just to make as much cash flow as possible, you might want to rethink some of your strategies, unless you have a way to differentiate yourself, which we're going to get to in a little bit. Okay, don't generalize, specialize, focus on doing one, hire specialists in an area, quality of work will improve. Very simple. Always try and just do one service and do it very well. So I made the majority of the mistakes that this book literally says not to do. Previously, my agency, I think we had like 5 or 6 services that we were doing. PPC was one of them, content management was another, we were doing email. There was like so many things that we were doing. And so I'm first-hand experience that this does not work. And now we've kind of all gone into one service for 2 niches with 1 upsell for each. That's how we operate. And we actually make more revenue than we did before. And we do it with way higher percentage profit margins. And we enjoy doing our work a lot more. Okay, so I'm a living testament to a lot of this with my own agency. And that's because I also had someone hold my hand step by step, just like this guy did in the book. Right, so if you don't have a mentor, whether it's me or someone else, it doesn't matter. I would really recommend it. So let's keep going. Relying too heavily on one client is risky. Okay, make sure that one client only makes up 15% of your revenue. So that's going back to that first point. Okay, putting the process into practice. When pitching, he was a lot more confident because he felt like an expert. I always teach everyone when starting an agency, do not outsource your first 1, 2, 3, 5 clients. Make sure you deliver the service yourself so that you know what you're doing and you know how to build a proven SOP system that's literally all mapped out, like some of the flowcharts. I recently interviewed a student, Marcel, on this channel, and we went through some of his systems and stuff. So you can search it up on the channel, but you'll literally see how you should map out a proven system for generating results inside of your agency. But anyways, avoid the cash suck. Once you've standardized your service, charge up front. Again, like I think most agencies watching this probably already doing this, but you never want to be charging after you deliver the service. Always charge up front and then make sure it's set to automatically rebill, because every reframe could potentially hurt your company, right? Like every time someone sees that amount come through and they have to manually pay the invoice, that's a problem. Whereas if you automatically bill them, most people just forget, right? So anyways, okay, it goes on saying clients will never know you're serious about specialization until you start turning down work. So this is something that, to be honest, we still struggled with until like recently, but a lot of our clients wanted some of the services that we used to offer because they had been accustomed to it. And it took quite a long time before I literally just started refusing cash, no matter how much they wanted to pay us, because it's no longer in our purview and it's no longer what we're good at. And I feel like this is a slow transition. Like if you're watching this now, there is quite a bit of a journey before you get to where you want to be, but trust me, it's worth it. So let's keep going. Completely stressed out, you could only feel calm again when you receive a check, right? That's when you do not have any control of your cash flow. You've got no reserves. You just like need a check every single week, every single month to feel alive. It's not what you want to be in. Okay, then you basically go through this testing phase. Take some time to figure out how many prospects will likely lead to sales. So the lesson there is you have to know your numbers. Like a lot of people ask me, especially on the one-to-one calls, how many cold emails, how many cold messages, how many things do I need to send before I'm going to start seeing results? And instead, I always say, it depends, honestly. Like rather just what is your closing percentage? What is your outbound open rate, your outbound conversation rate, and then your conversation to booking rate, and then your closing rate on the call, and then your average retainer and your average margin. Let's put all of those numbers in a spreadsheet together. Then let's decide how much money you want to make this month. And literally you can use some math to reverse engineer how many messages you need to send. And that's it. So it doesn't actually, there isn't some magic way of this is how many you need to send. There's some certain averages. Like I think you should be doing 100 outbound messages a day, whether that's email, Facebook, Flywheel, doesn't matter. 100 a day is a good minimum. But again, you can really work back. So you have to know your numbers. He also talks about like if you're hiring sales reps, So here I'm talking to agencies that are doing between like 30 to 50K, because this is when it really becomes useful to start hiring appointment setters and sale reps. But never hire one, always hire two. Because if you hire one, he has no competition, which means he has no motivation to outperform. And also, it's very easy for him to blame things, right? The system is broken, there's no leads, a lot of these issues. But if you hire two and one gets results and the other one doesn't, the one that doesn't get results can't blame the system and the lead flow and all these things, because if those were the problems, how is it that the other one can get results? So always hire two. Big lesson I also made a mistake with, but I had to learn along the way. So then I'm not going to go through all of this. It's up on the screen so you can pause this, but growing pains, the magic numbers, and then it talks about gaining momentum. When making a big decision, break it down like this. So this is like a very simple lesson, but obviously as a CEO of an agency, you always have to make decisions. And so like the most simplistic way to make a decision is just pros and cons, right? Should you join or should you book a one-on-one with Courtney? All right, as an example here, it costs you nothing, pro, you might get huge value out of it, pro, con, maybe like I have to fill out a quick Calendly form and choose a time. I know that sounds like a super strong like sales pitch for you to book a call with me, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I genuinely want you to get value out of this, because literally, like, here's my notes, like there is no opt-in, I don't want your email, like you can just screenshot and go through it, right? But I am just saying, if it makes sense for you, go for it. But I just wanted to show you how pros and cons, very simple way to make a decision. And then he basically talks about how he had to take this decision and tell it to his staff and kind of what the result was. Most agencies probably not going to matter, but I know like when we had to cut services down from 4 to 1 service, there was a lot of changes we had to make. And so a lot of you might not be in a position yet where you have a CMO or you have someone and you're trying to make operation delegations, you're trying to do these things where you also have to balance company culture, teams, all of those things. If you are, and if that's the case, then these chapters would be quite useful for you, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to skip through it. And then he basically goes through a bit of an implementation guide. So isolate a product or service with potential to scale. Again, I'm going to just take all of this and I'm going to convert it into like what I think most of us are appealed to, which is product or service with the potential to scale. So if every agency is doing Facebook ads for e-com businesses, you're going to have huge competition, especially if you're new to the space. So that doesn't have potential to scale. Rather pick a service or a niche that is blue ocean, easy to get results, easy to get clients, right? Like some of the agencies I've seen are in certain spaces I didn't even know exist. I recently did a boot camp with the SAP members, and one of the examples that I gave them was there are entire agencies who literally just implement CRMs for other companies, because that's quite a complicated thing to set up and manage and all of that. And so that's a full agency service you can charge a monthly fee for, as an example. Okay, create a positive cash flow, charge the client before you start doing any services. Basically, hire a sales team. This talks about the first role you should try to outsource is sales, because you can always just get people to deliver services. That's easier. Or you can try and do it yourself, but it's a lot harder to outsource sales. So your first hire shouldn't be someone to do services. It should be someone to help you with your sales. Most agencies, it's probably going to be some form of prospector or lead sourcer. I think that should be the first hire in your agency. Stop selling everything, right? So that comes back to just one niche and one service, one offer. Okay, launch a long-term incentive plan. So this is really talking about like company culture, structuring as you start building a team. Okay, and then it's then talking about making a sale, which I assume majority of you are not trying to make a sale of your agency, but just trying to scale it. So yeah, that's the book, Built to Sell. I recommend it as a first-time read to every agency owner I speak to. I think it's incredibly powerful. I'd highly recommend you pick it up. I'm sure you can get the free PDF somewhere if you don't want to spend the $5 or whatever it is on Amazon. But yeah, if that makes sense and you want to keep learning, I've made a full course. It's basically a collection of my YouTube videos in an order that basically is a full course on how to run and scale your agency. So I'm going to put that up now, and you can start watching and going through. Probably I've gotten so many messages from people saying that course has more value than most courses out there that they've already paid thousands of dollars for. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you in some of the next videos.